updated version understanding of the natural history of soul. So there are few things we know from Gita and few things that are not quite answered in our texts that only dhyana and rumination is able to get answers to. The most important question is, what is soul? What is its journey? Where does it start? How does it progress? And where does it end? So think about the verse from Gita, na jayate mriyate va kadachi nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuya aja nitya shayatayam purana hanyate hanyamane sharire. Neither it is born, neither it dies, neither it slays, nor it can be slain. And then nanan chinnanti shastrani nanam dehati pavakan charan kledantayapo na soshiti maruta. It cannot be burned by fire, cannot be dissolved by water, cannot be evaporated by air, cannot be killed by a sword. So basically the idea is that of non-destructibility. But it does not still answer the question of creativity. How is the soul created? You cannot create something which is unmanifest. That is why the soul is never created, but it is the kernel or the basic motor that runs the system, in this case the body. So because aj aja, atma, paramatma, prakriti are the most puratan or the oldest elements, there is no time capsule you can attach to that, because they have been formed, if you will, before the onset of space and time. Because space and time are basically the unfolding of Mahaprana to form Prakriti, and in Prakriti come the gunas, the Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, and then the soul as a seed goes and gets implanted in the Prakriti, and that is how life forms. First forms as amoeba, unicellular organisms, protozoa, bacteria, viruses, then you form the simple algae, lichen, then you form the plants, then you form the animals. So there is a basic idea of progression, because that is the way karma is built over time, and the consciousness rises as more and more karma is built over time. So the ability to perceive or the ability to percept, the ability to experience the senses, the sensual activities rises as we become have more karma and we evolve into higher species like the human. So basic idea is that it is about gaining experiences, but most importantly, why does the whole process start? I have talked about in my earlier video, you have to follow the 3 question framework, in which the first question is what, the second question is how, and eventually when you understand the what of what is there and how it operates, then you ask why. Why do you have what you have, and why does it operate the way it operates? And what is, basically it's a what question to say, why do you have it in the first place? So the soul basically in the inert state has 2 ways of existing. It can exist in peace, or it can exist in boredom. Solitude can be with a prisoner, and solitude can be with a monk in the Himalayas. One is enjoying it, and the one is really being punished by its presence. That is why solitary confinement is so dreadful even to the prisoners, because human beings as a system love company, love experiences, love sensual gratification, love short-term excitement blips, and hopefully that can continue over time, which it does not. So basically the idea is that the inert soul that is inside the God consciousness or Paramatma will remain in the state of peace. And it is a beautiful monitor. It can monitor the particles that have left the God consciousness as fragmented souls, but it will be peaceful. The moment it becomes less peaceful, perturbed, and especially bored, it will leave the complex. It does not remain cohesive inside the Paramatman complex, and it drops out of it. It is similar to water vapor being evaporated from the ocean because of the sunlight. So there is some intrinsic feeling of ennui or boredom that takes it out of this peaceful complex, and that is how the soul is born, if you will. Now again, when we use the terms such as born, live, die, there is an identity complex, whereas soul has no identity. It just is a moiety, and it's an entity that comes out of the ocean and has evaporated. So it's very difficult to crystallize its presence unless it forms those identity codes. The codes of buddhi, intelligence, mind, perception abilities through mind and the senses, and the ego, the identity, followed by the code, the physical code of the Mahabhuts. So Mahaprana will form your Prakriti, will form the Gunas and the Mahabhuts, and the soul is basically a seed that enters these Mahabhuts to form a physical body, a gross body, and then build up karmas, and the karmas will be burnt back by it, and so it will live a second life, and depending on its karma, it will live a third life. So basically it's a build-up of the karmas accompanied by the soul in the most kernel portion, the Karan Sharir, that leads to birth after birth. So you might not be done with the first life itself, even if you are tired of it and you want to go back to the soul complex because your boredom is over. Now there's so much suffering that you're like, oh my God, I did not sign up for the suffering. I was just getting bored, so I wanted to come and just roam around for a few lives and go back. But now you are stuck because the karma bandhan, the activities you have engrossed in, the way you have made the other souls feel about them are the experiences that you need to experience because you signed up for the experience sheet. So that is how the souls, once they come here on earth, they cannot go back. They have to burn their entire karmas, and that is why you should always try to do nishkam karma or selfless service, because if you are doing selfless service and you have no more desires left, there is no agami karma that will be born, and at the same time the existing karmas will be slowly burnt out. So that is how you can escape the structure of being born on earth again and again, and you can go back and merge into the Supreme Consciousness. Now please note that not everybody chooses to go back and merge with the Supreme Consciousness. There are 7 lokas that we know of, and most people in most religions are talking about only till the 3rd loka, which is the loka of Swarglok. And Swarglok basically, or Narklok in that matter, basically is a way to burn some of your karmas quickly so that you don't have to go through so many lives to burn it, because you want to burn off some of the excess baggage and then be brought back for the other baggage that cannot be burned, and hence we can experience more lives, go through more lives, and whether the experiences are suffering or joy, we kind of neutralize it and then we can merge into the Supreme Consciousness. Now a lot of times these are angelic and divine forces at the higher realms that can help us out in our day-to-day activities, and they are either waiting for their chance to be born again, or they are done with their cycles of being born and reborn, but they have just decided not to merge back into the Paramatman. So they are just hanging out. So they are just trying to be there for the moment, exist without experiencing. That is the best way to understand them. They exist without experiencing the sensual things, but they also help out their other souls that are stuck there. So that's one of the reasons why you will see liberated beings still being around. Like Hanuman is very good example, because they are trying to help others. Now if a previous moiety has gone and merged into the subconsciousness, they can only help you as far as the rules of the karma govern them. There is no sakam karma singularity that pulls you or pulls them to help you out. So that is why we depend on the devatas, because they are residing in the lower lokas, and they can be easily establish connection with us when we are calling their names, and that is why worships work. But the thing about worships is, at a certain point it will help you get rid of your vigna obstructions, like it does with Hanuman. It doesn't help you elevate to the next level of consciousness, which is where you want to go. So you have to keep working at it. You have to keep working on your abilities and be a better individual in terms of keeping a clean logbook of the karmas you are engaging in. Because we are still trapped on Prithvi Lok, for better or worse, and most of us actually do. If you ask us, we won't want to leave right now because we haven't quite accrued the experiences. The experiences, if you are really wanting to leave, you have to have total vairagya or dispassion for those experiences. Or the other more common pathway people use is exhaustion extinction, which means you want to exhaust those experiences because the desire has been created, has cropped up in your mind. So now an action needs to be taken based on your indriyas and your buddhi and your manas and your body. And that action will create karma, which will stick to your atma, karan sharir, and then kernel will keep propping up in new bodies, mahabhuts, to form new bodies. And that's why I've always said that one of the major roles in your life is to create better bodies, create high quality karmas, and therefore create better bodies, because those bodies are what are going to help you to attain your experiences in a meaningful way to get peace and contentment. So the second question is, when you're trying to live the right life while you are still not nitya mukt, you are not liberated, the right way to live the life is to live the life of Brahma. All of us are baby Brahmas here. All of us love creativity. Some of them are creating creativity out of boredom, which we call sex, and some of us are creating creativity out of higher purpose in life. These can be entrepreneurs, they can be extremely successful leaders, professionals, politicians, bureaucrats. These are people who are creating something in the world that is useful for humanity or for that tribe, for that nation. That's why I said politicians and entrepreneurs probably are the biggest two levels. Players too, various sports that they play, they are in the state of flow and they want to perfect their game. So players, politicians, entrepreneurs probably are the best examples of people who are in the state of flow that are seeking a higher version of peace, because peace in that form is perfection, and they're seeking perfection, which again is the Paramatma complex, the God super consciousness. So that's what they are chasing when they are chasing flow. And whenever you are in the state of flow, you will lose track of space and time. And those are the two modalities in which Brahma will manifest. And as long as you are in the Brahma mode, you will keep growing, you will keep looking young, you will keep looking active, your karma cycles will shrink, and you feel great about life in general, and about doubts that come in your life, you will have clarity to answer, because every doubt you have to make a decision, and the decision is context based, which means you have to understand the variables that you are facing and what is the right decision long term. And you have to also ask yourself, what are you willing to give up? Because there's always give and take. It cannot be all the time you are getting stuff. So you have to make a compromise. So that is why it's always going to be the hard decision in the short term, because it's not a prayer decision, it's a shared decision. But the context of space and time, the context of the variables that are going in that decision are very important when you're trying to make the right decision. So that the right decision is the Nishkam karma decision, and the karma that is helping you get quickly out of these cycles of births and rebirths, where there is Jan, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, there is Ahar, Nidra, Bhay, Maithun, where there is a lot of repetitive things which you have stopped enjoying. And that's one of the signs that you are ready for the next stage, is that you get a lot of vairagya or dispassion. But again, you don't have enough vairagya to go practice solitude like a monk. You have enough vairagya where you don't want to get new experiences. You don't want to go through those cycles repeatedly because you feel like a fool doing it every day in and out. Whereas others, in the mode of competition, seeing their neighbors do the same thing, are more fueled by that useless pursuit of daily activities where there is no spiritual growth. So my friends, The natural history of soul is basically that of fragmentation from the God consciousness, where extreme boredom, not peace, extreme boredom causes dislocation or separation from the God consciousness, and that fragment that leaves the super God consciousness is the soul. Now it germinates in the Mahabhut, and now it is governed by the rules of the Prakriti, Prana and Guna, and those rules will create Sattva, Rajas and Tamas activities, and those activities will be stuck with this entity or soul to create Karan Sarir. So first time it came down from boredom and created the karmas, and those karmas now stuck to it. Unless those are burnt out, this soul cannot go back and merge into the super consciousness. So it is trapped because of this Karan Sharir, the Rin Anubandhan or the Karma Bandhan, which is basically the debt of the karma that you have done with others, the way you made them feel, they want you to feel the same way. So until neutrality is established, you are stuck here. So that's why the need to continue working on your goals. And when you work, you have to work in the mode of Brahma, which is Brahma can be in the mode of boredom, which is sex, or it can be purpose of higher creation, sattva, which is purposeful creativity, which can be some entrepreneurship, some improvement in the skill that you are having. Because once you don't have anything new to grow and create, the Brahma is slowly dying in you. You can either optimize your current perfection, which is Vishnu, sustained, but even if you have nothing to optimize, you retire and you have nothing to choose, then you're just waiting for the excess of tamas or the Shiva to destroy this structure and form a new structure. So these new structures keep forming. The soul, when it leaves the body, it is still shrouded by those karma bandhan and the thoughts, the samskaras, and those samskaras dip him again into Mahabhut, form a new body, form new karmas, remove the body, again you have a Sukshma Sharir, which is mind plus the samskaras containing the mind and the karma bandhan and the soul, and then it dips again into a new body to form a new body and form new karmas thereafter. So basically this cycle continues, and when it is free from all the karma bandhan, it doesn't have any identity. So you cannot distinguish that one from another individual. Only when it is in the body, it has some coats of the samskaras, some coats of the ego, some coat of the looking certain way in the body, and that all is dictated by your karma bandhan. So basically that is what shapes it, and we can only have control on the future actions because of Iksha Shakti or Dhriti, the perseverance factor that we have within ourselves. Otherwise, we are just in the hands of the karma, mostly the agami karma and the prarabdha or the unfolding karma in the moment that will decide what kind of activities we will engage in. But basically the idea is keep your karma profile clean, think about Shreya or long term, and think about the right decision that will be taken based on the variables you are considering. Because if the variables are changed, the pattern recognition falls. Pattern recognition or modeling, that is using one answer to answer a second question, will work only if the variables are the same. If you change the variables a little bit, the output answer will change. And that is why you cannot extrapolate one situation to another, because always there is some factor which is variable. This time it's always different. And that's why the larger pattern can be preserved, but the individual answers to your questions, always the answer is depends. There are no absolute truths that you can roll and use to find an answer. Hope you like this video. Please feel free to leave your comments below.